With wrong turn in the bag, my future looked bright. Then a little green man thought he'd give me a fright. He's greedy, he's mean, and he's got quite a wit. Now with Cannibals complete, tell me these movies aren't shit. So Leprechaun tells the story of a murderous leprechaun who sets his sight on a group of people that he thinks stole his gold. Welcome to the next review series, everybody, and if you haven't figured it out by now, it's Leprechaun. So, I just got done with Wrong Turn. You guys were awesome during that entire franchise. For as painful as it was to get through, you guys were there all the way through. Awesome views, awesome interaction, even the live streams and the spoiler talk that me and CP just did the other day, wildly successful. So I figured, you know what? Since St. Patty's Day is coming up in a week or so, why not run through the Leprechaun franchise? Now this one, I have not seen these movies in a very long time aside from the original and the sequel that just came out a couple of years ago that I reviewed. But as far as Leprechaun 2 all the way through to Leprechaun Back to the Hood, these are movies that I watched as a kid and for the most part really enjoyed them back when I had absolutely no taste. So let's see how those tastes have evolved, shall we? So starting off with the positives for Leprechaun, I really enjoyed the tone of this movie. It does a nice little balance of having serious horror and some gore and some of that slasher element, but there's a lot of wit, there's a lot of charm, there's a lot of kind of goofiness to it that really balances it out and makes it stand out amongst other slasher franchises to me. There's some franchises that try to be funny and try to be witty that is just embarrassing, some of the Wrong Turn movies, but there's a nice balance here. I feel like I'm watching a slasher franchise, but I can kind of enjoy it and just kind of have some goofy laughs or some smirks along the way as well. And there's not too many franchises that can have that balance. I actually remember a lot of fond memories as a kid walking back and forth to Family Video, which is just about to close, rest in peace. They were just 2 blocks from my house in Ohio, and as a kid I used to walk there and rent things, and I remember for like a month I would just go back and forth and rent Leprechaun sequels. I'd rent Leprechaun 2, watch it, take it back and get 3, watch it, take it back and get the original, and I was just cycling through them. And while it's definitely not my favorite slasher franchise, I do have a good bit of nostalgia for this one for that fun, gory balance.
Help! Help! It's happening! The attack is on O'Grady Farm. Send help. The leprechaun is attacking. Army, Navy, guns, Marines. We're gonna need some medicine.
Okay, thanks. And part of the charm of that balance is Warwick Davis in the lead role of Leprechaun, in the titular killer, and he really brought a good bit of charm and a good bit of humor to this. From what I read, this was supposed to be very serious and very dark, and his performance and his kind of ad-libbing and his charm that he brought to this role really kind of reformed what the Leprechaun movie was originally supposed to be, and I think for the better. I think that actually gives this its own standout flavor that makes Leprechaun something that's different from all the other slasher franchises. Warwick Davis is not only funny and charming and witty in some of the lines, some of them are corny, but some of them are witty, but he's also really easily can kind of turn on that terror a little bit, you know, give me gold, and like, it sounds silly to laugh at a leprechaun and also fear him, but there are certain scenes in this and even some of the sequels you're like, I wouldn't want to be trapped in a room with that guy. Something that I will actually say about this movie too that is a bit of a surprise that it has aged that well is that I do think that most of the acting in this movie is pretty decent. For a 90s slasher movie, for a hard B-movie franchise, for like the first appearance of Jennifer Aniston, that's kind of one of the things it's known for. All of the cast does pretty good, from Ozzy to the little kid that I saw in a bunch of movies in the 90s, Don't Tell Mom Babysitter's Dead, all the stuff like that. The cast is actually pretty good in this. There's nobody that's embarrassing. It's not one of those old school 90s slashes you put on and you're like, woof, this was garbage.
Fuck you, Lucky Charms.
And I really like this farmhouse as a setting. You don't necessarily think farmhouse and leprechaun, but whenever I think about this original movie, one of the first things that I always visualize is this farmhouse setting. And I think that's one of the cooler things about the little reboot sequel that came out a couple years ago, is that they kind of went back to that. But this original film kind of having that lore, that Irish lore, they could have easily been in Ireland doing this movie, but they chose to do it on a little farmhouse that's decrepit, that's a little bit creepy, that definitely has that haunted house vibe to it. And I think it works well for the themes of the movie and for the vibe that they're going for. And finally, I do enjoy the lore that they put in here as far as like the rules of the Leprechaun. They take traditional Leprechaun lore about rainbows and the pot of gold and four-leaf clovers, and they put a horror spin on it to where if you take his gold, he's coming for your ass, and you're probably going to die very violently. And the whole thing about the rainbow leading them to his pot of gold, and the four-leaf clover being something that he's scared of and can actually kill him. Like, I actually like all of that. They embrace the lore of what this kind of childlike character of a leprechaun is, and they put this evil little spin on it, and it works. Moving on to the negatives, for a slasher film, I don't think that the kills really hold up very well in this movie. The only one that I ever really remember is the pogo stick kill, and it's not really performed all that well.
This old Lep, he played one. He played pogo on his lump. Teach you to steal me gold.
This is certainly one of those slasher movies that I remember just for the charm of it and just for the nostalgia of it. This is not one of those movies that you will ever see on like a top 100 kills list or a top 50 kills list. There's not really anything overly memorable about it. Yes, there's some blood. Yes, they certainly go for it as far as keeping that horror aesthetic there and not being completely tongue-in-cheek and completely kind of campy, but it's a movie that doesn't really rely very much on what slasher fans come to a slasher film for. And I think that's one of the reasons why the legacy of the film is not as strong as maybe some other franchises. But overall, guys, this is a nostalgic movie for me, and I'm sure a lot of that nostalgia is the reason why I'm not really ripping into this right now, but it is a movie that I do enjoy going back to. I'll watch it every couple of years. It's not necessarily a yearly watch for me. It's not something I throw on every St. Patty's Day, but it is something that whenever I do go back to it, I do have some enjoyment there. There's some good campy fun, some good little jokey laughs here and there, some little smirk lines that come out of Warwick Davis's mouth, and there is some decent slasher elements here that I think they balance pretty well, but neither of those elements really rise above just being decent. There's never anything about this movie that has ever stood out, that has ever been iconic, that has ever been overly memorable, aside from just being one of those B-movie slasher franchises in the 90s that spawned a whole bunch of sequels. So if you're a slasher fan and you have never seen the Leprechaun franchise, I actually think the first film is not too bad. So dive into it, see if you like it. Don't expect anything extremely iconic or memorable, and you'll probably have a decent time with it. But if you can find it online, absolutely stream it. So what do you guys think about the original Leprechaun? Are you a fan of this movie? Or is this one of your favorite slasher franchises? There was a lot of surprise wrong turn fanatics. Where's my surprise Leprechaun fanatics? Let me know down below. And what are you excited about in this review series? What movie can you not wait to see me get to? Either because you love it or because you want to see me go nuts about how terrible the movie is. Let me know down below, guys. And this will be going all the way through to St. Patty's Day, ending with the ranking on St. Patty's Day. So it's going to be a busy week or so going through the Leprechaun franchise. Please hit that subscribe button if you have not already subscribed so that you can catch all of that, and you can go back and check out the Wrong Turn franchise that I just got done with. One of the more entertaining review series that I've been through. But thank you guys for watching. Like and share this video. Hit the subscribe button. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.